Showering and bathing is also very important to ask the team about. If you've had surgery and your incision is well healed, you can probably shower starting the day after you go home. In the shower, we usually say use a really mild soap, something without perfumes or deodorants. Rinse all the soap off thoroughly and then take a nice soft towel, just pat the incision dry. Don't rub it because that's going to hurt, but you need to get the incision very dry. So that's important to know. The other thing to talk to your healthcare team about is regular activities. You need to know when you can go back to doing your housekeeping, when you can go back to regular exercise, when you can go back to having sex. All those things are very important to discuss with the team. The physiotherapist is a really good person to be able to talk to you about an exercise program and safely returning back to what you can do. The other thing to remember is being tired. You can expect to be a bit more tired than usual when you first go home, partly because you're not doing a whole lot while you're in the hospital here, and you start to do a bit more once you do get home. But remember, if you're feeling tired, you may need to schedule some rest periods, and having a nap mid-morning and mid-afternoon is okay. But in between that, we want you up and about as much as possible. So just remember to ask your healthcare team what limitations there are to your activities when you go home.
Okay, that's great. And how soon can I go back to driving so I can resume my normal life?
That's important too. Driving is going to be determined again by why you were in the hospital. If you've had surgery or if you've had some medical condition that requires you to go home on pain medication, we ask you to be off all pain medication before you start driving or operating any sort of heavy machinery, because the pain medication can sometimes make you groggy or drowsy. Some medical conditions will also require you to be not driving for a significant amount of time. It could be up to 6 weeks or something. So you need to ask your team if there are any specific limitations to you. Again, if you've had surgery, you need to be able to safely turn to check your blind spots in comfort. So those are all sorts of important things to think about before you start to drive again.
All right. And how about having help at home? Am I going to need someone to be there to help me out?
Yeah, we usually recommend that you try and have somebody help you out with the daily chores and regular activities, and that can be a family member, a friend, a neighbor, whoever you have around. If this has been a planned admission to the hospital, we hope that you've already arranged for that help before you came in. But sometimes you may have been admitted unexpectedly, in which case we ask you to try and arrange some help before you go home. Now, if you're going to require visiting nursing care, what we call CCAC or Community Care Access Center, all of those arrangements would be made before you left the hospital. And quite often we'll give you some supplies to take home with you, and then the rest of the supplies will be delivered to your home once you get there. Now remember that most patients don't require home care when they go home, but if you think that you're going to need extra care or extra help at home, ask to speak to our social worker, because they know all the community agencies that are out there that are available to give you some help once you do get home. Okay?
And you haven't said anything about eating. Do I need to follow a special diet when I go home?
A diet, again, is going to be determined by what you were, the reason that you were admitted to the hospital. Now, if you've had surgery or something that's going to require you to change your diet, it's important that you're going to speak with the dietitian before you leave. Remember, if you're not the one who's doing the meal preparation or the cooking at home, have that person with you when you talk to the dietitian and they go over everything. Quite often we just want you eating as balanced a diet as possible to continue on with your diet at home. But remember, if there's any special requirements, you need to ask your healthcare team about that. If you were already a diabetic when you came in, let's say you came in for lung surgery, you're still going to be a diabetic when you go home, so you will need to continue following that special diet.
Okay, now this is a lot of information. Is there anything else that I need to know?
The only thing that we haven't talked about yet is booking your follow-up visit. It's important that you ask the team when they want to see you back and who they want you to follow up with. It might be a doctor or surgeon who cared for you here at the hospital, or they may ask you to follow up with your family doctor. If you're coming back to a clinic here at the hospital, it's important that you book your appointment well in advance. The clinics here often book up very quickly. So if the doctors tell you that they want you back in 4 to 6 weeks, please call the office within the first couple of days of going home and book that appointment for the future. The other thing is, if you're following up with your family doctor, you may be going home with stitches or staples in that need to be removed. The nurses will give you the equipment to take with you, because sometimes the family doctors don't have that equipment out in their offices in the community.
Okay, you know, this is a lot of information that the team will already give me, and why do I need to ask them all the questions?
Yeah, you're right. A lot of it is stuff that you'll automatically receive. And remember that most of it is in the information package that you receive that we talked about earlier. But the more we talk about it, the better prepared you're going to be for going home. And the more questions you ask, the more it makes you part of our healthcare team, which is really important.
Okay, so is that it?
I think we're finally finished. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Remember to jot down questions so that everything's answered for you before you go. And once you get home, remember that there's always somebody here for you to answer questions. So I hope that by talking today, we've got you a little better prepared and that you're a bit more comfortable about going home.
Okay, Susan, thank you so much for coming in to see me. I do appreciate the time that you spent. And I do feel a little bit better about going home now, so thank you.
That's great. You're welcome. Take care.
Thank you for watching the video. We hope that you found it helpful. Please remember to always discuss questions that you may have with your healthcare team members.